I'm not the brightest tool in the shed sometimes. Most people, if they're honest, would admit that about themselves. YouTube is interesting. It gives us a platform. It gives me a platform, and people can hone in on something. But at the end of the day, all of us, you don't live with us, you don't know what we're really all about. We can put ourselves out there on a camera, we can express a viewpoint. And what happens is you have a lot of people, oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. I just listened to a video this morning that was very interesting because I'm like, this is part of the problem in our society. I don't know this guy. I listened to him in his car condemning the way women are dressed at the gym, condemning women wearing bikinis, wearing underwear. And apparently the channel person is the guy at the bottom of the ball cap, so I'm not talking about him. But I looked at all the comments underneath the upper level portion of that video is saying, oh, he's so right. Oh, this is the days of Noah. And, everybody's agreeing with him, but I listened and he was talking extremely stern, authoritative that, whoever invented the bikini wanted to objectify women. I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on. I heard that about women being involved in like Playboy or Penthouse magazines, that it objectifies women. Hold on here. Let's rewind this video. This guy right here is a simp. He's taking the condemnatory man simp side while he is objectifying women himself. And as I get older, you see through this feigned self-righteousness, he's going to get on a kick condemning the way women are dressed at the gym. Well, dude, if it bothers you, don't go to the gym. Number one. Number two, he said they're basically naked. Then don't go in there, broski. You're so righteous, don't go in the gym. Do you have to go in the gym to work? You can run in your city. You can do sit-ups in your bedroom. You could do your own Nautilus and don't have to go anywhere. Come work with me for a day. We'll see if you're able to do what I do. And you pay for gym membership. And I laugh at people. If you just work hard, you could have the body you want. And that's lacking in many today. But let's talk about this constant. Women have said it, men have said, oh, they're objectifying women. Nobody put a GUN to your head and said, you will wear this. Women believe in choice, even to the point of killing children. Women believe in choice, even to the point of murdering their kid. So nobody puts a gun to a woman's head and says, you will wear this. They do it willingly. This is a picture of another video of let's see if I can zero in on it. 3 dumb, very conscienceless, soulless teenage girls. I only see 2. Both of them are dressed inappropriately as young ladies, but they go to school like that. They're giggling and laughing as she lights a firecracker and tosses it in the window of a nursery. A nursery room destroyed. And what's really stupid is there's a doorbell cam recording the whole thing. Oops. Too bad you didn't know that was there. And they're giggling and they have no conscience. And you know what's sad? If I came home and saw teen girls breaking windows and throwing things into my house, I can't do anything. I couldn't do anything violent. I can't grab them and restrain them. Can't do anything. This is how stupid our American society is. And we're going to talk about, women do get away with a lot. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to tell you what I should have the right to do. They're on my property and they're trying to destroy my house. I would have every right to tear them apart. But no, can't do that. And I've learned over the years, our society favors the bad people. The society does not reward good citizens. Young ladies involved in this behavior clearly is proof that something is wrong with them. But let's go back to the gym. I don't like sports bras. I've always laughed at sports bras. They're women trying to be men, and they're not really a bra. They're just, you know, almost like a weird undergarment that's more mannish than feminine. And women have been trying to deny their femininity for ages. And one of the reasons I dress the way I dress is because it's very hot here. But the number one reason is I like to dress this way. And I got comfortable with it because when I go to the flea market, I go in public, if I wear a t-shirt, around my neck, all that, I get hot and sweat more. The cooler I am, the less I sweat. And I have proven to society that society will look down on me for dressing like this while they say nothing to women walking around dressed scantily. Nobody will say anything except an older generation that'll, sniff at it and go. But this young guy here going on in a self-righteous, authoritative tone about women running around in their underwear at the gym. Bruh, don't go to the gym if it bothers you. Why don't you go to the gym management and say, could you have a policy against this? Professing to be wise, professing to be on point, you just missed a truckload of stuff. You say that the bikini was designed to objectify women. Well, women made the choice to wear it, brusky. And I don't like people like this. He's got the church haircut. He's got the whole thing. He's probably the same one that says, I'm doing well. I don't want to be around that. I'm noticing something too, and I heard something said about all the guys wearing baseball caps actually destroys your hair. I heard something that people who wear ball caps most of their life tend to go bald. Interesting. I don't know if that's true. I just thought I'd throw that out there. This guy and I would not get along. I can pretty much guarantee it. I can just tell by looking at me that I'm not going to run in his circle, and he's definitely not going to run in mine. And there's people that get on YouTube. All of us get on there. We all got a certain amount of ego. I do too, no exception. And as far as girls wearing a bikini, I don't care. I'm older. I have spent so many years being so against the way women dress inappropriately, and it hasn't done me any good. What needs to change is deep inside of me. I like the beauty of women. I don't care if women show it. I don't care anymore. They're going to. And as I get older, I haven't dated in years. I'm like, well, thanks for the free view. If a woman wants to show herself out there and allow me to notice that, cool. Cheap thrills. And I'm not being rude. I'm just saying that if it bothers you that women wear two-piece bikinis, he's condemning that at the pool and the beach. Well, then don't go, bro. It's been allowed. And nobody's forcing women to dress this way. So you are wrong in saying that this objectifies women. Women are objectifying themselves. They do it on TikTok. You got girls dressed inappropriately to set somebody's house on fire. I mean, what are you going to do about it? And I even wrote on that channel, women dress inappropriately. He said, would you dress that way in school? They do. High school student got on my bus years ago, whipped her sweat jacket off and out of sports bra and clambered on the bus and looked me right in the eye. I'm like, wow, they're bold. Brazen. Nobody made her do that. She did it on her own. Then I had to draw the line when Boy got on and ripped his shirt off. I said, no, it's hot. I said, well, I can't go shirtless, neither can you, and I'm just as hot as you are. Put your shirt on. Our society's imploding on itself. I used to be like that guy. I had my hair short. I was very, very sledgehammer hard on everything around me. I even wrote a piece in the morning. Didn't know 9/11 was about to unfold. And it talked about how Hooters had donated to some charitable thing. And I laughed. I said, Hooters donating to charity. Everybody's praising that while they have a restaurant that enhances women with big chests to prance around in the restaurant showing off their big chest. I said, what a joke. And that morning, 9/11 unfolded. We're never going to get away from lust. We're never going to get away from the fact that women are going to dress. Even women can dress professionally and still be provocative. You know, I marvel at the women on our network television where they're at a news desk and they got the little stupid peekaboo shoulder. And even then, they still are allowed to get away with showing deep cleavage. The news organization doesn't shut that down. All the guys are wearing the same exact thing. Button-up collared shirt, suit, and tie. Women can wear khaki and tacky and good evening, everybody. And feign sincerity as they're telling you that half the world blew up. I'm a cynic because I've lived in this world so long that I look at things objectively, and women are going to dress inappropriate. What are you going to do about it? Not a darn thing. And how far do we go with this? How far? How far do we take this? And maybe I'm being a little soft on it because I struggle with lust. And as I've gotten older, I realized, you know what? Harping and carping on the lust and condemning the way women are dressed doesn't solve the problem. I do think that most lassies today are unwise in the way they dress out there in general. Women that are obsessed with going to the gym but never work on this. Let's focus on that. Christian and non-Christian women, they go to the gym. Oh yeah, I'm working my cardiovascular. No, you're not. No, you're not. You know what the Bible says? Bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness in all things. American women today major less on godliness and major less on this. They're all about their body. They're all about their looks. And yeah, they go to the gym to cock block men, to show off, to dress inappropriately. And if a man looks at them, they snub him. The whole gym thing is a joke. I went in there with my Asian girlfriend in Denver years ago, and I said, there's so many airs in here. She goes, you're right. I said, this is stupid. You got guys standing in front of full-length mirrors. You know, and they're just lusting after their own selves and lusting after the guy next to them. The gym is a joke. People tell me I should go to the gym. No. I'm lifting heavy stuff all day. Why do I want to pay to pump iron when I pump iron at work? I tell people, if you want a good body, put away the junk food, put away the chips, put away the pop, put away the fast food. You'd be amazed. Just that. Quit sitting on the couch watching TV all day. Lifestyle choices. Buying a gym membership. I think a lot of people go to the gym to be seen. I always marvel when I was in Denver. women were getting killed. They decide to run at 3:30 in the morning through a dark neighborhood wearing nothing but a sports bra and booty shorts. And it's like, why would you do that? You're not safe. There's neighborhoods I wouldn't walk through as a grown man with my chain around my neck. And you're a woman dressed scantily and you're going to run through there thinking you're good. Your vanity will get you killed. And I had a discussion years ago with a Debbie up at Voyager Bus Company. She was commenting on men, rape, and this and that. And I said, well, Debbie, you know, a lot of women need to be careful about the way they dress. Oh my gosh, it's as if though I had criticized her personally. She went off and started raising her voice. That doesn't give an excuse. I said, I never excused rape. But women need to take accountability. You're a stumbling block, you know, cover yourself up. And she hated me because little Debbie liked attention. We called her Little Debbie because she was a little blonde, petite, and she loved to be noticed. And she was in a marriage. And then I remember one day when she came to me, my marriage isn't working out and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I'm sure it isn't. And now that I'm years older, living with little Debbie would have been a pain. It's all about her. And even now, there's women on my channel. There's one that stopped talking to me. She taught Pilates or something. She's beautiful. And I was honest. I said, your channel's temptation to me. Women will condemn the way I'm dressed, but they go a whole channel showing off their body. They use something on their channel to hide behind that. As a Christian, I had to come to terms with the fact a long time ago, okay, we keep beating ourselves up. If a man looks at a woman, he's already committed adultery. Okay, I've already done it millions of times. That doesn't erase the fact that I've done it. The only thing I have to stand on is the grace of God. God himself is not coming down to these women and saying, stop, put your clothes on. The gym isn't doing it. The school system isn't doing it. Society isn't doing it. So how then do we live? How do you keep your mind pure? It's almost impossible. In fact, I believe it is. And if you want to be this guy, and I'm sorry, I see this guy as a geekster for Jesus. You've been around those kind? I question the people that their whole stick is them doing a video while driving across town. Now, I do it on occasion, but my whole stick is not driving in my car. And I'm sorry if I'm being critical. He'd have something to say about the way I'm dressed for sure. But because of the way women dress, I started going, you know what? I've seen women walk around with this around themselves, and I always chuckle. This is, I had an extremely long t-shirt, and, sorry, guys, I have to turn off the red light. My red light business is closing for the day. But I've seen women with nothing more than this around. That's it. We like it. I don't know any guy that doesn't like it. And so I started to realize I can dress this way in public and nobody can say I don't have a shirt on. I've got this much that's not covered up. And I've got a tag that's irritating me, so I have to turn the tag the other way. The trials of dressing in women's clothing are real. And I realized if women can walk into a store with just this around themselves, why can't I? And it's fascinating when you realize that. Very, very fascinating. And I'm going to try something, but I'm off off camera doing it because I don't know if I can tie this in a knot successfully. We're going to find out. Die trying. I love women. They're fascinating. I think a lot of women today have poor choice in fashion, especially in the white women's clothing industry. It's ghastly. I have a friend in Cleveland that he's the one that I owe him a debt because it's laughing material when he talked about dress barn clothing. And it's true. Dress barn clothing is some of the most hideous stuff I've ever seen. I don't have enough fabric to pull this into a tight little knot, but I think I can still make a point. I've seen women do stuff like this. I've seen women wear t-shirts over t-shirts, sweatpants, and something. Oh, I've seen white women do things that are just like, girl, have you looked at yourself in the mirror? You look ridiculous. But guess what? Guys won't say anything because you got all this skin going on. Women can go in public just about anywhere today with just this. So I thought I'd try an experiment to see what happened. Of course, I got looks, I got stares. But it's fascinating to watch that society won't say anything to them, but they'll say something to me. Mostly online. I was in a store one day with a sweat jacket on, but unzipped, and my little thing, and there were 3 black men with dreadlocks. All of them had that much of their butt cheeks hanging out of their, sag pants. I was behind them, waiting to purchase some lumber, and they were turning around and looking at each other, doing the Bert and Ernie. They thought they weren't making it obvious, and I just looked straight at them, and then they turn around, and I'm thinking they're making fun of me dressed feminine, and yet 6 inches of their dirty, sweaty, nasty butt crack is exposed to the world. Even I don't do that. I have had to ask myself some deep questions. What does it take to make me godly, Christ-like? And what actually works? People getting on a self-righteous tangent, that doesn't make you holy. Getting everybody to agree with you, what I'd be willing to bet you is that guy struggles with lust probably more than I do. He's what I call a closet lustaholic. When he's not doing a video, he's dialing up Hubmaster and everything else. And what amazes me, and I'm being honest, there are women that are married. There are women that have boyfriends, and they're on YouTube dressed skimpy. Like, okay, they want us to see them. I give them compliments. And I would struggle if I had a woman that I really cared about was putting herself out there with skimpy clothing. I'd be like, you know what, honey, I'm not comfortable with that. And I will say this, that if I want a woman who cares about me, if her big aim is to be on social media to get likes and hearts, it's not going to be a good match for me. And women have put themselves out there as a sort of eye candy. Women will tell me, oh, I agree with everything, but when I start talking about these kind of things, they disappear real fast. Women want attention. They like it. I want attention. I like it. But at the end of the day, we all need to ask ourselves, what are we trying to do? What kind of attention are we looking for? And what do we hope to gain from this? We talked about Anthony Fauci and gain of function research. The guy was the highest paid government official, and he's got his hands in dirty little pots involving viral things. The guy should be thrown in a penitentiary and should be given the death penalty for some of the experiments he's conducted on humans. And nothing will happen to him. And, you got Christians focusing on the way women are dressed at the gym instead of the evil that is beyond what somebody's wearing that drives our country into the ground. And as I get older, I try to go, where does my view need to stand? It needs to come square with this. It needs to be squared with this. And it isn't. I can tell you the word of God, but my life does not always line up. I struggle with sin. I struggle deeply with sin. It's interesting. It says here in 1 John 4, we love because he first loved us. We did not voluntarily love God. We love because he loved us. You read some of this stuff in Scripture, it really is hard. If someone says, I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For the one who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. Look at all the women and men that leave nasty, hateful comments, claiming to be Christians. I can very easily read, that sounds pretty hateful. They ignore that verse. They'll talk about the way I'm dressed as a woman, but they'll ignore that verse about hate. And you need to tell some Christians in this country, you better stop the hate. If you're so godly and pious, why don't you go into your prayer closet and say, Lord, I pray for this man on YouTube? They don't do that, though. People like flinging comments like monkeys pooping in their hand and throwing it at people and through the cage bars. I don't know why our society's that way, but it's a problem. And I think some of it got there because of people like Roseanne, South Park, The Simpsons, stupid TV shows that eroded at decency and cynicism, promoting cynicism and satire. I admit I didn't watch Beavis and Butthead, but I started using the term, oh, that guy's a butthead behind the wheel. They do have an effect on us. Absolutely. So I walk out in society, I'll go and get a load of lumber dressed like this, and it's funny to watch people. They're tripping. But if a girl walks in dressed like this, nobody bats an eye. Well, it's normal. No, it's not normal. Why do women put themselves out there as a sex object, even though they don't want any of us touching them or being near them? Why is it that women like to tease us with no intention of fulfilling a marital vow? And women put themselves out. There's women on my channel, I love and adore them, but they're dressed inappropriately, having a boyfriend, having a husband, and getting on here and posting the pictures they post. It does cause me to stumble. And I tend to think, is your relationship with this guy really all that good? There's less or nothing of him in the channel, and there's more of her and more skimpy wear. I mean, it's fun, isn't it? I get to see her body vicariously, even though I'll never get to date her. And this, we got to talk about this, ladies. We got to talk about this. What is your motive for putting yourself out there scantily clad? Where are you going with this? You like the attention you're getting. So the man you're with isn't giving you enough to get you to stop doing that. And that relationship is ultimately going to fail. Mark my words. I've told men, you got a woman who's doing this every time you see her, don't ask her out. Because when you ask her out and you date her, she's still going to be doing this. And when you're at work, she's going to be lifting this and doing this with who knows who. You're not going to be able to keep up with all that. Now, I want to talk about another level of false thinking. And there's a culture out here that their thinking is really squewy. I observed a guy at work that he went and talked to somebody who's dating a woman that happens to be the sister of a woman he had an interest in at work. And he went and told that other person things about this woman at work. And the guy went home to his woman. She's about to have a child. They've been dating for over a year. Dating and mating, I should say. And he told her some things that were discussed by the chap at work. And the chap came to me and bent my ear yesterday about it, said, I want to kick his ass. I don't want to lose my job, but I'm really angry. And I said, I don't think that'd be wise. He goes, well, I know that, man. I said, well, you get in trouble and you're going to be fired. You start a fight in this place, you're going to lose your job. I got to thinking about it. He said, I talked to him. He said, I didn't discuss it with her. I discussed it with my girlfriend. Yeah, but she went back to that girl. Hey, folks, if you don't want something revealed, then don't tell somebody. Back this Tonka truck up. If you don't want something revealed, then don't spill the beans to anybody. You're to blame. And now you're going to get mad. You're going to tell him, see, censorship goes on down here. You hear people say, oh, you're a snitch. No, I'm not a snitch. This is wrong, and I'm going to call it out. And there's that mentality down here. I got news for you, Americans. You say snitches get stitches. That's bullying. Somebody's got a right to call in drug dealers. Somebody's got a right to call in crap at work. No matter who does it. You got a racial dynamic down here. If I, as a white guy, talk about anything that some of them are doing, oh, you're a snitch. This is the workplace. You're not supposed to be doing it. And it is affecting me. So, yeah, I turned it in. Yeah, I tell you what. You don't want somebody to know about something. Don't go to the guy that's dating the sister of the girl that you have an interest in. Use some wisdom. And he cut out of work yesterday afternoon because he was in a tailspin over it. And this young generation, it's funny. I'm having a bad day. I'm just going to clock out and go home. Man, I'll tell you what, I'm 60 years old. You think I want to be here every day in this trench? No, but you be a man. You pull up your pants, zip them up, and you go to work. You face the day. I remember when I was driving a school bus down here on a high school route. And a student got on. She hadn't been on for weeks. She goes, hey, Mike. I said, you all right? I haven't seen you. Well, I needed to take a mental health break from school. They can do that now. Isn't that something? Isn't that awesome? You can just take a mental health break. You can just check out. Now they got cry rooms and you can have a puppy and a teddy bear. Boy, I guess that's why I'm messed up. I didn't have all that when I was a kid. You get your butt to school or you're going to get a whooping. That's what I had. And I went to school every day. I didn't ditch at all, but watch this. What did I do with there it is. What did I do with school? I hated it. When I was in middle school, I hated school. Oh my gosh, I hated it. And yet, here I am. I went to school every day unless I was sick or it was vacation. Today's generation is very different. And I went up to the guy yesterday that my coworker wanted to level with his fist. I said, "You doing all right?" Later in the day, he goes, "Yeah, I'm all right." I said, "I'm just trying to avoid drama." I said, "What do you mean? Who's giving you?" "Oh, somebody trying to start drama with me and I ain't going to tolerate it." I knew exactly what he was talking about. I noticed something about us as Americans. Every one of us thinks we have all this authority. I got a news flash. As a Christian, we only have authority bestowed on us by the Creator. Doesn't mean you have authority over everybody else. I have a voice. If people don't see me and didn't know who I was. Here, you want to look at some Arabic writing? Isn't that funny? Now this documentation that comes got to be in all these different languages. Sanskrit. I have a voice of authority. I step outside myself, listen to my videos sometimes to review what I'm doing right or wrong. But I've had people tell me that. You've got an announcer voice. You have a Ted Koppel voice. Good evening, everybody. This is NBC Nightly News with Michael Nelson. Some people abuse that. You get a grown 6'4" man, ripped and big, who shouts down at everybody. That's intimidating. Doesn't mean he has authority. Only self-exalted. And I tell people, you don't have a right to tell another grown man what he can and cannot say to his own girlfriend. Nobody has a right to tell me that I cannot go home and have a discussion with me lady about something. Nobody. Anybody who thinks they've got authority over that is really, really deluded. If you don't want something repeated, there was a young lady that came from North Korea to the U.S. years ago. She said her mother taught her, be careful what you say. Because this leader, a bird on the air, could repeat it to him. They lived in fear in North Korea. And why shouldn't they? You had an evil dictator keeping over half his country in poverty and starvation. Another proof, young people, socialism and communism doesn't work. If you don't want to listen to me, go look at Russia just before the walls came down in '89, standing in line, hundreds deep, to go get a potato. I was at the store on this video forum. I noticed people from Australia and New Zealand said, "My gosh, look at all the choices you got at the store." Yeah, that one right there. Cheese, man. Cheese is good. Gotta have my slice of cheese. So I started dressing the way I dress because I marvel. I go to the flea market. I go out there in public. Have you seen what some of these black ladies in Augusta are wearing? Have you looked at this? Oh my gosh, they got hoochie-nanny top, hoochie-nanny shorts, no bra. And they're just sporting it. Sporting it. No shame. No conviction. I pulled up my bus in the middle school years ago, dropped the students off. I didn't go to school because drivers were allowed to come in for the breakfast, and if they had leftover food, we could get, sausage, egg, whatever. And I watched a black woman, no pun intended, give a dressing down to one of the girls that got off my bus. She had the side seam all the way up to here, the slit. And she dressed her down right in that lunchroom in front of everybody. Why you think you can come in here dressed for the club? I'm calling your mom. She got to pick you up, and you're going to have to go home. Or you better hope she brings you something appropriate. But that doesn't work. All the girls get on. And this culture out here really accentuates skin deep culture. The culture out here is having lots of sex. The guy I'm referring to at work, every day he's on a different woman. He talked about the woman from the post office. They went on a dinner date once. He said she was classy. Now he's getting text, can you help me pay my rent? Can you help me do this? I said, man, dude, why do you entertain these women? They're users. And he can get all the dates he can shake his stick at. And they're like that cheap fireworks that you light it and it goes poof. That's it. So I don't date, and haven't dated in 8 years. I don't want to say I don't date. I'd like to, but the truth is, even I'm man enough to admit, dating is not always right. We as Christians really got caught up by Hollywood, and dating turns to mating. We have sex before marriage. We very soft on it in our culture. Even me, I've done a lot of things. I've been around the block. I have been around the block. I have been deceived by women. I have been lied to by women. I've been hurt by women. And even in my cynicism, I've told myself, you know what? The safest sex is to not have any with anyone. The safest sex is to rub one out and go on about your day. And then there's that other problem. If I look at a woman with lust in my heart, well, I got news for you. I don't have to even look at images. If I don't look at images and I don't do something for 3 days, I'm ready to explode. So a woman walking by with a soft bra, I'm all wound up, gonna go home. I got an image for the spank bank to draw on later. You cannot get away from lust. And there's this idea that, you know, if you crucify the flesh and then there's this whole fixation and focusing on demonicizing yourself and demonizing everything about you. And then you're fixated on trying not to lust when in fact, you're giving it more attention than you should. And I'm here to tell you that nothing I've employed works. And so then we're led to believe that if I find a wife, then the problem goes away. For a minute. Now you got her, do her, you can have fun, and then guess what? It wears off. And another woman walks by your life. Hi, Michael. Oh my, she's cute. Ooh, I'm married. I can't think that thought. And you wake up with Medusa in the morning. Her breath smells like dragon fire. Her hair looks like a garden rake went through it with all the lint balls from the sheets and the pillowcase and the blanket stuck in it. And you say good morning and she's like, morning! Boy, that girl on the street looks better than my own wife. Then you go to a Hollywood movie and they show the woman holding a pistol now. And then the two shooters right here. Do you like what you see? And grown men are sitting in a theater next to their boring wife, or the boring wife sitting with the boring husband, and then they see the muscular ripped guy. Make my day. Hollywood is an illusion. And the whole world that we live in is designed to work against us, and holiness and consecration and purity and righteousness. Do we not grasp that? So we can complain about the way women are wearing underwear in the gym. And I want to say, dude, get a reality check. Women dress the way they dress at every level of this culture. Go into the corporate office. The ladies with all that beautiful, smooth, shaven legs. The airs and the tempting and the crap goes on behind corporate doors, just as it goes on behind the game playing in the gym. They even got young women going to the gym dressed inappropriately, period. And they go in there with their camera. Oh my gosh, that guy's looking at me. Oh, he's raping me in his mind. Honey, you're stupid. You go in there trying to entrap. And now feminist women want to condemn men because we notice them. Honey, God made us to notice you. Sometimes I feel like it's a bait and switch. Listen to me now. I'm going to say something. Ladies, stay with me on this because you're going to get really mad when I drop this truth bomb. But listen to the end, okay? My cousin said, do you know why God made women attractive? I said, no, why? He said, to get us to fall for them and mate them. He said, if they weren't attractive, we wouldn't go after them. I thought about it, he's right. But then you see a lot of unattractive people out there mated up. Different strokes for different folks. The art palette got all the different colors of paint, and people paint their palette different than I do. There's women I see that can get a date any day of the week, and you're looking at them going, her armpit's that big around. What are all the guys seeing in that? I guess they want to bury their head in an armpit that big when they make love to her. Ugh. I mean, I don't understand it. I've met women on my channel, I don't even know what they look like. And maybe if I did, I'd run internally. I don't know. But I've learned to become friends with women, get to know them without knowing them. And there's women on my channel that I think are awesome. For me, I need to be attracted to the woman. And I can't just be marginal attraction. She's got to move me. And if she doesn't move me, and there's been some women that move me, I'm amazed today in today's environment, there are women who try to get my attention. They want my attention. I have not had to pursue. And yet, at the end of the day, you're left with sand running through your fingers. Somebody wrote a comment. It's pretty obvious to see this guy is sick in the head. I said, it's pretty obvious to see you're a troll with no face, no video, no content. And the one where I was talking about trolls being a skid mark in a toilet bowl. Somebody left a comment this morning. I said, it's apparent that you had to leave a comment showing yourself to be the skid mark on the toilet bowl. Hey, scholar, you just outed yourself, dum-dum. Professing to be wise, they became fools. I don't apologize anymore for being attracted to a woman. If a woman's coming on to me and she's coming after me, I'm human and I'm going to notice it. I'm going to be genuine. If I'm not attracted to her, I'm not going to tell her I'm attracted. There's some women I don't want to see their clothes off. I don't go to the gym. I don't even do much in public except my errands. I go to work and I go home. And it doesn't matter where I go. People dress the way they dress. The African American culture out here pushes that envelope so hard. You got a lot of women out here that don't wear bras. I remember when COVID was going on, we were doing food delivery to houses, and women would come with this on and nipples protruding through, and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I even joked to the ladies on my bus. Some of them were from food service at the school. Some of them were fellow female drivers. And I said, I like living here. They go, do you? I said, yeah. I said, all these women don't believe in wearing a bra. And all the black women laughed. They said, hey, you noticed that, huh, Mikey? I said, yeah. They said, yep. We don't like to wear bras here, Michael. And I'm guilty. I like that. I haven't dated any of them, but hey, they want to sport that? Cool. At least I get a sneak peek. And we can go on about how wrong that is. And I have this dichotomy in me that's really a struggle because I go to church on Sunday morning and most of the women there are dressed modestly. And I look at their dresses and their clothing and it looks like somebody took the sheet off the drape off the window and hemmed the bottom of it and hemmed the armholes. And I'm like, that looks like window dressing. That must be from Dress Barn. And you can see they had the rebellious ones, got all the tattoos, and the ugly look like they took an ink blotter to their arm and they put all the blonde frosting and highlights in their hair that isn't blonde. And I'm just going, none of these women in the church are pretty. None. I think there's maybe one or two women in there that are pretty. And, there's just this attitude. And you got the guys that are wearing the suits, like, how you doing today? And grab my hand and crush it. Yeah, I feel out of place. I feel like in the 80s, I remember when I went to Duluth, I went to a Baptist church, and I actually felt like there was something going on there. Married couples, single people, we got along and we talked about God, and I felt like there was fellowship and community there, and there isn't that today. It's gone. My channel's providing a certain platform for that. And yet we need people in our life. But now you go to these big Walmart, big box churches, and they'll come up to you. Are you involved in a small group fellowship? No, well, you need to get involved in that. That's how you grow. You go into a Walmart church, and now you're going to tell me to get involved in a small group fellowship, and this preacher's making $1 million running the show here, writing books and jet setting around the world. Every small pastor church I've ever met, they don't got time to write books. They don't got time to go jetting here and jetting there. They're trying to take on the needs of their congregation. This is a joke. If you want a small group fellowship, then go to a small church, because you're not going to get intimate with anybody at a mega church. I'm starting to hate the word mega. I remember the term came up in the 90s. They had a snowstorm that hit Duluth on Halloween, and they called it the mega storm. Sensationalism. When I first moved to Duluth, I went to the public library and pulled out old newspapers that showed some historic storms up there. Park Point being buried in 15 feet of snow, because Park Point is Minnesota Point. It's a peninsula of land on the other side of the lift bridge. It's narrow. The harbor on one side, Lake Sperry on the other, and it dead ends at a rock jetty that I've walked all the way out on a lighthouse. And that was the exit for the Edmund Fitzgerald on her ill-fated voyage in 1975. And I walked out on that rock jetty and stood there and thought, this would have been the last time from Duluth or the Minnesota side you would have seen the Fitz heading out for epic final voyage. And, you looked at the storms that were the norm, and now you get 2 inches of snow. Oh, we got a bomb cyclone, people. Oh, it's going to be really bad. Yeah, we got to shut down the schools. I wouldn't recommend any travel. Better stock up at the store. And people, you can tell watching the news, you go in the store, it looks like the apocalypse. The meat department disappears. All the dairy's gone. All the chips and junk food have been cleaned out. I'm like, wow, I'm so glad that what everybody buys and takes and wipes out is not what I eat. It's all there and I can just get what I need. And the next day you get 2 inches of snow. And so, wow, this was a complete nothing burger. Dumb. The news makes drama about the weather. They shut down the school if it's 25 below because it's too cold for the kiddies. What? When I drove a bus in 1990 in Duluth, they got down to 38 below and they're standing there kicking chunks of frozen ice balls around and playing foot hockey with it. What happened? It's the dumbing down of a generation. It's school teachers and school personnel saying, we need a break. Let's shut it down today. Teachers whine about being underpaid. No, you're not underpaid at all. You get paid too much to lie to our kids today. Let's call it what it is. You got a job with 180 days of off time, and you're getting paid more than people who sit in an office or me at a damn warehouse get all day slugging it out. I don't think that's fair. And I've noticed that the college system is rigged. If you drink their Kool-Aid and believe their stuff and get degreed, you can get the good paying jobs. It's rigged that way. And the school systems are bully pulpits for communism, socialism, evolution, atheism, humanism, pro-abortion. You know, school nurses will shuttle a girl to Planned Parenthood to get an abortion without parental consent. I'm like, wow, how does that work? What about this? You should hear the giggling. The audio picked it all up. They were getting an orgasm off this. And they go running off. The anger that rises up when I saw that. Scary. Selfish. Neither one of them know how to dress at all. The one's got sweat bottoms on. Women running around in public in sweatpants is the height of laziness. I don't wear sweatpants outside my house. I wear them to bed as jammies. Women go to the store in their pajamas. Wow. Why? I remember seeing that in the 90s. I'm at the Duluth airport, waiting to go back to Colorado. Woman comes in her flannel jammies. She looks like she rolled out of bed. She's got a little doggy. She's not getting on the plane. She's saying goodbye to a relative or whatever. All I did was say, cute little dog. She gave me a dirty look. She thought she was all that on a stick. And I should have said, you know, lady, you come out in your pajamas. I made a compliment of your dog. You got an attitude. I mean, you're really something else. And society won't say anything to those women. They'll comment on me. They'll comment on me. Where are the men? Lady, what are you wearing pajamas for in public? Oh my gosh. No, man. I love the men the way they want to talk tough to me. Just like the guy at work. Man, I'm going to punch him out. I said, you better get off of this. And if he brings it up, I'm going to say, did it ever occur to you? Because I started thinking about what you told me, and I kind of sided with you, but then I realized something. If you didn't want this information to get out to that girl, why did you tell him who's dating her sister? I mean, what are you thinking? That'd be like you're trying to hide some crime from the CIA. And you have a friend that works for the CIA and you tell them, and then you wonder why all of a sudden you're in trouble. You know, if you don't want people to know something, don't repeat it. I don't know why that basic common sense is lacking today. And I remember my mind actually processed when that guy, they started off, I trained him to do pulling parts and packing. And I said, how'd you find out about this job? And he said, well, the girl I'm dating, her sister works in the office and she told me about it. I said, oh, okay. I thought, great. She and the guy I work with are seeing each other. That could turn into an ugly situation. And guess what? It did. We got to use wisdom in what we do. Sometimes it's not always our fault, things that happen. I believe women and what they've told me and found out that they weren't telling the truth, and that's not my fault. It's what we do once we know the truth. We go back for more stupidity, then we're to blame. And it bothers me because even a guy like me, my heart has been pulled on. And it's just disappointed again and again and again. But I do know one thing. If I was in a workplace and I'm dating a woman whose sister is the girlfriend of a guy that I'm training, I'm going to be careful what I talk about. Years ago, there was a situation involving my then underage son. His mother had made some very foolish decisions. 6 months after an attorney that I paid to hire told her to get a 21-year-old pedophile away from him. And by pedophile, he sought out and went after my son when he was 14. He was 21. He was gay. He had BO. And he was troubled. And the attorney said, get this guy away from your son. Now, 6 months later, my lazy ex let them hook up, ride around in a car driven by a 19-year-old gal that I did not know, ran a red light because everybody was intoxicated, Toyota 4Runner who had the right of way on Spear Boulevard at 2 o'clock in the morning, hit that car and knocked it against the wall of Denver General Hospital. And the guys who were doing surgery were outside on their break on a cold winter night and started pulling bodies out of the car. And without getting into all the particulars, I worked at Denver Public Schools. One day I'm walking to my bus in the afternoon while my son was in the hospital. And that was an ugly time. My ex-wife was blaming me for that. My ex-wife she dropped his health insurance several months before the incident. It did not tell me that was against the divorce decree stipulations that you will meet if one cannot afford, you'll both make arrangements. But for now, she was in charge of his health insurance. She had it in her job dealing with medical billing and insurance and stuff. So this is what I don't like when I listen to women in America complain about men. This is the part that you're not told, men and women. It's called editing. My wife had more business acumen and professional degrees than I did. My common sense blew past her. And I had my problems. And what bothered me in that marriage and being married to her is I saw where she lacked basic thinking that is just should be automatic. And to drop his health insurance. Now he has an accident. I'm dealing with that. And an angry son who's hating me and in a hospital bed threatening me physical harm. That was disturbing. And I walked in his hospital room. I said, really? You're threatening your dad. I am not responsible for whatever is going on with you and this boy and being in a car where they gave you alcohol. How is this being laid at my feet? I said, has this young man encouraged you to stay in school? Has he encouraged you to do well? No, he hasn't. And my son lied to me about what was going on. And what bothers me is in my world, I was afraid. Just a couple days before that, I went out to my truck on a Saturday morning and there were eggs had hit the back of my F-150 95 Ford. Who came by and threw eggs at my truck? Not any of the other cars in the driveway were touched. And I went down to the car wash. There was snow in the bed of my truck, but it was a sunny day, and I pumped the quarters in and sprayed it off. Fortunately, it didn't damage the paint. Ford had some real good. They had a clear coat over the paint, which was awesome. And I went on my son's Facebook. I said, "Got eggs?" No response. We're in the hospital. I said, "Did you egg my truck?" He said, "No." I said, "Really?" I said, "It was eggs all over the back of it." And it wasn't until nearly a year later when the court up there made mandatory, me and my ex had to come together for family counseling with the kid through mental health services. Two different women, two different times, both white, both of them attractive. And I'm thinking, great, I got to go to this stuff. And all these problems have nothing to do with me. But she would listen to Focus on the Family. And Focus on the Family would talk about the importance of a man and a father. James Dobson in his program, and I used to listen to it on the radio. He had a good shtick. But it took me years to realize this was very pro-women and very anti-man. And our society's been doing that. So Focus on the Family would never talk about abusive mothers and carousing around loose women. They never painted a picture of the reality of women. And you get around Christian circles, and I learned something. A woman can walk into a church with other women. She can walk in there and do my husband and say all kinds of things that are not true. And every one of those women will automatically take the female side. The Bible says, do not entertain a false accusation except with 2 or 3 witnesses. Witnesses. And they never pay attention to that other part of that verse. It says about an elder, do not entertain an accusation against an elder, except there be 2 or 3 witnesses. And there's a protocol for how you handle it. And wives going to church and bad-mouthing their husbands, that is a no-no. That's called gossip. And women are not convicted about that. So, I don't know, this self-righteous geek getting on here saying about women wearing their underwear at the gym. What do you expect, dog? They're going to go to the gym in their underwear because the gym doesn't have a requirement against it, and they allow it. And if you allow people to push the envelope, they'll push it. That's human nature 101. Let me tell you something. If I had a job and it paid good money and my boss said, Mike, you can dress that way, I'm going to do it. If they tell me you got to wear a collared shirt, it can be a Henley and slacks, then I'm going to do it. You got me now? You like this one? And let's go on. So I go to my job. I'm walking down to my school bus to drive routes for the day. This is what, 2015? This was awful. This was a very dark period of my life. And the guy that the attorney told my ex, do not have him around your son and go file a report with a detective. And we both went down in July of 2014. And my ex-wife's looking at me. I had no idea. I said, you know what? And I had to shut my mouth. I had to turn my turbos off every time I was around that ex. She was vindictive and terrible. I said, well, you know, we can be wrong in our assessment about people, but let's concentrate on doing this. 6 months later, lazy parenting kicked in. Mom, can I go with him? Yeah. Well, now they're going to get drunk. The driver of the car gave alcohol to minors. That's a no-no. She was 19. And wouldn't you know, if you don't believe in God, I'm going to tell you by what's happening, there is a devil, because this is uncanny. And what are the chances? This is Denver. 2.3 million people in the whole metro area. I go to walk down the stairs, the big steep stairs, the lower bus lot. One of the fuel attendants comes up to me. Hey, Mike, how you doing? I said, I'm all right. I've been better, but I'm all right. Yeah, I needed to talk to you. You know, I don't know if you know this, but my girlfriend is the one that drove your son's car. I stopped. I said, oh, really? Yeah, Mike. And, you know, it got back to me, you're suing. I said, yeah, I got an attorney. I said, my son's laying in the hospital with no insurance because of his mother, and I'm not paying for this. But you know, that family doesn't have money. I said, dude, that's not my problem. You shouldn't be having this conversation with me. And you might want to think about who you're dating. I went to my route, rattled. This guy, this Hispanic guy that I'm dating, that I'm working with, is involved with this chick, and he's trying to defend her. And I looked at him and I said, so if this was your son and somebody had gave alcohol and stuff, what would you do? Well, I'm just saying. I said, no, you're not answering the question. So I went to my terminal manager and I told her what happened, and she goes, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I said, could you deal with this? She goes, because he works for the shop, I'm going to tell the boss over there that if he has another word with you, we're going to look at termination. I'm sorry you're going through that. So I go into the hospital room. I said, I don't know who you're telling everybody, but I got a right to get an attorney. I said, you and your mother both have done things wrong, and this is why this has happened, and this has nothing to do with me. It wasn't until after I was here, over a couple of years, my ex contacted me, and I told my son, do not give your mother my number. Things had died down since then. He had had a deja vu, got away from this cat. And I'm going to tell you, life is scary. Life is scary. You got young people pretending they're an adult. You got older people grooming children. You've got a 21-year-old perp, a disturbed Hispanic kid claiming he was Finlander, doing things with my son that I can't even imagine. And my ex-wife texted me, and I thought, okay, enough time's gone by. She said he admitted to me that guy was doing homosexual acts. I said, I knew he was, and I told you both that, and he denied it. My son to this day has not offered any kind of an apology for the crap he put his father through. So when he get on my channel saying, I told you not to dress or do this SHIT, I'm going, and you have authority, how? You never have authority over Michael. Only God does, and I have a hard time submitting to God. This week, I came that close to pulling the whole channel and just shutting it down and walking away. Being honest, being truthful is not received in this country. Deep inside, I feel like I'm going to crumble at times. The hatred, the mocking. 3 teen girls can throw a firecracker in a baby nursery and think it's funny and burn half the house down. That's really awesome, isn't it? That kind of women, that they don't, they're not going to charge them the way they would a man. I remember years ago, there was a 21-year-old woman who was messing around with a 14-year-old girl, lesbian auto, and nothing happened to her. She wasn't put on the registered sex offender list. But if a guy, 21, is with a 14-year-old girl, oh, he's done for life. When I drove the bus, underage girls came on to me. I didn't entertain it. Now online, you have to be careful. Girls claiming to be adults, and they look older. And now I'm starting to realize, do not accept any people into Discord unless they can verify ages. It's scary out there. And what happened to my son was ridiculous, and that was all blamed on me. And that stupid ex-wife of mine, and I'm going to call it what it is, has not to date ever done a Christian reasonable thing and said, I'm sorry what I did to you. I was childish. I hated you. I was mad. The bill at the hospital was over $100,000. I'm glad I got an attorney. Because of my income as a school bus driver, I qualified for Medicaid, and I got it. And it went retroactive to the first of the year, and the incident happened, January 18th? And yes, the insurance, they sued the father who insured the automobile. And my attorney said, it's a single wide mobile home. You're not going to get money out of this. But we can go off the policy. But it had to be divided among several other kids in the car that were injured, my son being the worst. And to sit there and listen to a society that does what they do to people, and my son putting me through that and never apologizing. And I called him one day and I said, why didn't you tell me this? Oh, I was afraid. I said, you were afraid, huh? I said, is that why you threatened my life in a hospital room? I said, at that time, you liked whatever was going on with you and this clown. Now, years have gone by. You're not into guys. That's great. But you forgot that you put me through hell. He admitted in the counseling that he had egged the truck. There are times that I just want to die and leave this world. There are times I'm afraid. There's times I'm bothered by what goes on. There's times that I'm aware of how evil the devil is. And people say, how come you don't go somewhere? How come you don't? I don't want to go anywhere. I want to go one place, heaven. And my ex is classic narcissistic Caucasian female American society today. Walk around talking crap about me. Doesn't tell her friends she dropped the health insurance. Doesn't tell her friends that she let him go off 6 months after my attorney said, keep this 21-year-old away from your son. And the attorney used profanity. Then sometime later, after all of that died down, she let a guy rent cheap the room down in the basement who was safe, who knew what was going on with my son and this other and condemned it. And he had a job. And some time went by and my ex contacts me and says, all my jewelry's been stolen. I said, really? She goes, well, my son was stealing things, so I locked it up in the trunk of the car. Well, one night he got my car keys and went to the trunk. He gave the jewelry to this guy who took it to the pawn shops. I said, wow, you find some good people to connect with, huh? And she sent it to the police. She went to the pawn shops because she saw a receipt somewhere down in the basement. They turned it over to her. Police got involved. And she called the police when he got home and they made an arrest. She goes, one of his relatives is going to come pick up the stuff. I said, go through every piece of that luggage before you let that go out of the house. She opened up his suitcase. He had panty raided all of her panties. She called me crying. Oh my gosh, she was stealing my underwear. I said, you know what? And I refrained. Y'all think I'm bold here? I refrained from being bold with her because I'm like, this woman is such a problem. If I say anything, she's going to get revenge. But you are really stupid. And then I just look at myself. If we let our guard down, we can be stupid too. Get involved with somebody. Believe somebody. Date somebody because she's cute and she's a Christian and they can drag you over the coals for the rest of your life. 14 years. My ex-wife was a BOGO queen. Buy one, get one. And she lived it out to me. Get 14 years of marriage with her, you'll get an additional 15 of revenge with that extra year thrown in for free. 29 years of my life were jacked up, but guess what? It still keeps on going. She lets him live there, and he's going to tell me about being a man. Let me know when you get your own place. To quote your boyfriend, who said, you don't even own a house, and you went and married somebody in Hong Kong, that was a fail, you're a loser. I said, you're 21 years old talking to me this way. I'm here to see my son, not listen to your trap. I tell you what, there was no justice, not by the hand of God or anybody with this crap. And now my son got religion and he's become like my mother, my wife, my ex. This punk that he was involved with had made threats on me. When I left the house at the estate I was managing and caretaking, you go out the front door, down a boardwalk, go up some steps, it's fenced, and it was a low fence, had a wrought iron gate, but the gate entrance stuck out beyond the fence, and I would always look over the fence to make sure nobody's lurking, waiting to ambush. Yeah, I lived like that. I thought, man, my son's involved with people that could be a danger to my damn life. All because of a stupid, foolish woman who was a Christian, who listened to Focus on the Family, who told everybody I was abusive and I was this and I was passive aggressive and I projected. I didn't even know what all that meant. So I started looking it all up. When my ex-wife, at the time we were married, convinced me to go to Ohio to run a troubled youth home, I said, I don't want to do that. And she said, but you're good with kids. I said, I don't want to run a troubled youth home because they're living in the house. I could deal with it on the bus because I opened the door and say, bye. I gave in to my wife the whole time we were married. That's why I divorced. Because one day it hit me. You become an American simp. Whatever she wants to do, you bow to her. You're not the head of your house. You wag the dog, she's wagging you to do what she wants. And she has no respect for you. Her boots were made for walking all over Michael. Men, don't tell me you don't do it. Don't tell me you haven't done it. You'll open up your wallet. You'll open up everything because she's so hot looking. Now look at all these women. It's so cargo shiploads of women putting themselves on social media with all their sexy look and lip gloss and $3,000 hair jobs. And I'm going, yep. Entrapment. Proceed with caution. In some cases, there needs to be flashing red lights on all these women's portfolios. Proceed no further. Turn around. Dead end. You think there's justice for me? People talk about justice for Trayvon Martin, justice for George Floyd. I'm a Christian, and some of the worst things have been done to me by believers. I have a heart full of love, and nobody's worthy of it. I'm a walking, living testimony about the Bible. It says, guard your heart. I didn't. I haven't. I get interested in somebody and I truly feel love. Only for it to go. Relationships are like fireworks. When they shoot off, they look so pretty. But the fireworks show always comes to an end. And when all the haze from all the burnout fireworks fills the heavens and people get in their cars to go home, 4th of July's over. See you next year. And that's what dating has become. That euphoric, ooh, she's so pretty, she's so nice to me. Guy at work was telling me when I first started, we had a black woman working for us. Not a very nice woman. She wore the same hoodie every single day. Pulled up over her face. She didn't smile. She was rough. He said, yeah, I saw her at the store one day and we started talking. He said, they should have had me deal with her. I said, what do you mean? They shouldn't have fired her. I said, you know, she was sitting in the office and the president walked by several times and she had her phone out. The minute you see her, she'd put her hands on the keyboard, and he kept seeing her do that. And they finally made a decision behind closed doors that this is what's going on, and they said she needs to go. She's not doing a good job anyway. And my coworker said, he saw in the store, and he said she gave me her Facebook and her number. I said, why would you want to be involved with her? She's very dark in her behavior. He said she got her tongue split, forked tongue. If only all women that are truly snakes could have a forked tongue, then we'd be forewarned. Some of those women are dressed in a robe of righteousness. Because sadly, all of us, even though we become Christians, we come into our relationship with God with immaturity, with baggage, with dysfunction, with sin. And it's fun to believe that it all goes away when we get saved. It doesn't. It's fun to believe that now that I'm a Christian, frosted Lucky Charms, they're magically malicious. Silly rabbit. Tricks for kids. It's a honey of a no. It's a kick in the butt Cheerios. Be careful before you sign on that dotted line, read the fine print, my mother used to tell me. You cannot do that with a person. You have to sing Alan Parsons' song to yourself, to your sex drive. Time flowing like a river, on and on to the sea, till it's gone forever. I love that song. One of the best Alan Parsons songs, but it's melancholy. My cousin could play the piano, and my cousin was a douchebag. Not the one I talked to today. But even he impressed me with the piano. I said, play that, Alan Parsons. And he figured it out by ear and started. I said, wow, that's good. Keep playing it. Goodbye, my friend. Maybe for forever. Goodbye, my friend. The tide waits for me. Who knows when we shall meet again, if ever. But time is flowing like a river to the sea, till it's gone forever. I feel like my life has been the Titanic. Wreckage, deck chairs, and shit floating around the water, dead bodies everywhere, relationships that fizzled and burned out. I just look over the ocean, I go, wow, this was supposed to be a fun 6-day cruise. How did this happen? I'm so sick of hearing that. That just ruined Titanic. Celine Dion and Titanic don't go together. I listen to classical music Saturday today when I take my bath and just sit in there and turn into a prune. I put on Hooked on Classics. Came out in the 1980s. I discovered it because they played it on the regular rock radio station. This is pretty cool. It had a slap, it had one of those automatic beats. It caught my attention in middle school. Well, it shocked my mother. We're going to touch on something here. Don't you love rabbit trails? I got loose ends all over the place. But we're going to put this package together, put a bow tie on it, and call it day one day. I'm a mess. I'm not well. But God started the process to make me well. I'm a psychological disaster. And yet I get up, pull my pants on, and face the day. Doesn't matter if I got fear, doesn't matter if I got reservations, doesn't matter if I like this or don't like that, it don't matter. Got to pull up your pants and go to work. Got to face the day. Scary. You know it's hot when it's 75 degrees for the low and the heat build up in the house, the AC can still come on there. Oh, that feels so good. People wonder why I dress like a woman. What you should wonder is why I haven't gone crazy. What you should wonder is why did a guy who went through this stuff? We don't realize that, do we? But let's go back to the classical. When I heard that classical music, I was into the Titanic then. By the way, Body by Oatmeal, buddy. Go to the gym, boys. Go to the gym. 60, I don't need it. 60, I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't want to date the women that go to the gym. If they got to go to the gym and huff and puff to keep that weight off and keep their body from looking like an Amtrak train wreck, I don't want her. Because there's always the fear that one day she's going to get lazy on me and she's going to look like Oompa Loompa and say, honey, you want to watch the Hallmark movie with me? Ah, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. And I don't want to date a girl that's got a solar plant in the window. I have been shit on, lied about, maligned, character assassinated by my ex so many times, it's not even funny. The damage she did after divorce was worse than what she did in the marriage. And I got an additional year thrown in for free after the BOGO kicked in. But guess what? It's 2026 and the crap still continues. The damage that a woman and a man can do to a child, to people, the scar tissue is unbelievable. And what's really sad is the person who's doing the scar tissue doesn't see it. And then they go out to their lady friends and, oh, Michael this and Michael that. Michael moved far away and built a house, or remodeled the house. I should have just bulldozed it and started over. So what? I own a house. I'm glad I'm not in a stupid apartment. It doesn't matter where we are. There's always that greener grass that we long for. And then we find out it's AstroTurf and it's a ripoff. But Hooked on Classics. Hooked on Tchaikovsky is fascinating. Has that horn. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. I pictured the Titanic looking so stately and beautiful on her maiden voyage of that piece of music. And then there's some melancholy classical music. There's different pieces through the whole thing. And you hear certain strains and it reminds you of the tragedy, the sadness of the ship sinking. And then there's one part of victorious classical, I can't use the right music terms because I didn't take music theory, but the horns kick in and you just think, wouldn't it be cool if I could supernaturally just, the ship comes up from the ocean floor, the creaking and the groaning of steel, and as it's coming up, it's renewing itself, and just like Raise the Titanic, but better special effects because it's real, the bow just goes and it's sitting there brand new as if it never happened. I have wanted my life to be a symphony, but instead it's an acoustic guitar down to two strings that are stretched, about ready to go bang. What is God doing? I'm honest, and I get a lot of hate for that. I've been getting inundated. I had to unsubscribe. I subscribed to Ice Cream Man because I'm like, okay, this is funny. But now I was getting recommended, and this whole week he's buying Blizzards. I mean, he's got an addiction for these damn Blizzard ice cream bowls. It's funny. If you look at the top of his head, he's got these wavy curls in it. And that beard. And he'll go, slippity, slurpity, slurpity, sparkle. Slippity, slurpity, slurpity, sparkle. Oh, what the heck is this? He's making money off of that. I have been condemned by my mother, condemned by my exes, all. That society and condemnation is just a part of my life. I live with it. I have a deep, acute self-awareness that I'm a fail. I am. I am a fail. And I see partly where the turning point was. It started with the girl I dated in high school. God used her to reach me for Christ. But I should have stopped right there. I was one of 4 selected to go on the Freedom Tour, Freedom Foundation Tour. I was in Mr. Kerr's Arizona and U.S. history, or Arizona government and history class. Very good class. I mean, he took boring political, talked about Arizona history and gold mines and the superstitious mountain mine and the lost Dutchman mine, We talked about things, and I tell you what, good educators grab your attention. I had a lady at a Hallmark store in Duluth. She owned the store. She had a drop-dead gorgeous daughter who invited me to go party with her one night. I don't drink. I was extremely rigid. She picked me up. We went over to Wisconsin to hit the bars, and I felt really awkward. They had a strobe light going like this, and they were dancing, and I'm just looking around at all the drunk people going. I was rigid. I was like, you wouldn't see me going like this back then. No. I was scared. I'm like, oh, this is a bar. Kirsten was beautiful. Oh, she was, but I wasn't into that. So, yeah, dropped me off that night. Never saw her again. But the mother was very nice. She said, Michael, you should be a school teacher. I said, me? Yes, you're very smart. There were people who believed in me, but I didn't believe that it was true. I thought, nah, I'm not a school teacher. I do not want to teach children. Have you listened to any of the music? Have you not seen the struggle in humanity with our music? Why do birds sing? Da, da, da. Why do they fall in love? Who do you think you are? Run around leaving scars, collecting your jar of hearts. Oh, wait a minute! A woman singing this about us men? Who do you women think you are, collecting your jar of hearts? Tempt me, tease me, go on, leave me breathless. Oh, Mike, I'm not interested in dating you. Then why are you flirting with me? I realized the other day I'm naive. I realized the other day I believe easy. I always said I'm not naive. Oh, yes, we all are. Sometimes when you're driving a truck, you got to adjust your mirrors, because if you don't adjust them right, you can't see. The other day, I got a mirror adjustment to myself. Like, you see how easy it is to make a mistake? And I hate that. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. Be glad you have an Abba Father that forgives you and leads you and guides you, and you can catch yourself before you free fall. What do you do when other Christians hurt you deeply and they have no awareness of what they did? And Dobson actually said something that resonated with me. I wish I'd have paid attention to it back then instead of now. He said, when a man doesn't have a good relationship with his mother, he'll end up marrying somebody just like his mother with those same bad qualities. Well, I did. And I didn't go looking for somebody who looked like, acted like my mother, but I looked back, there was a pattern. I married girls that had that serious side. I dated women that were moody, serious. My mother was not funny. She was dead dog serious. She was unhappy. Most of the women that I chased after for the longest time, oh, they looked good for a minute, but they were miserable down inside. And then when things go wrong, they blame me. Never, ever. I'm sorry, I was rude to you, Michael. You're not going to hear that. And even now, you try to talk to somebody, wow, she's pretty, she's nice, and you want to get to know them. And you let your guard down and your heart down, and you go, stop. And I was reminded this week, no more. Stop. Better to look at rubbing one out by yourself and just leave it right there. You don't need a woman. You don't need this. You're in an age now, you marry a bad one now, they could really screw up your world. Bible talks about the love of many will grow cold. Honey, it has. People play with our hearts. Women play with our hearts just as much as men play with women's hearts. And I'm not putting the guy down I work with. It reminded me of myself. Well, don't tell anybody I told you this. Well, then don't tell me, because I'm human. And even us guys like to, I got some scoop. You want to hear some scoop? Oh my gosh. You want to be friends with the ladies at work. Walk in the room and say, ladies, I got some scoop. Michael, tell us. Oh, Michael. They're all out like this. Their ears about 10 feet big and they're all leaning in. Really? Tell us more. Secret, I got a secret. They love secrets. And when you learn that about women, things start to make sense. They like drama. They like it when somebody crashes and burns. They like it when you find out scoop on somebody they don't like. They live for that. Not all women are this way, but most of them are. That's just part of their fallen nature. But we guys, where's our manhood? Ladies, I'm not going to entertain this creepy crap. Get away from me. But I don't want to hear it. The Bible says, do not entertain an accusation unless 2 or 3 witnesses. And I'm not one of the witnesses. I wasn't there. And it shouldn't even come to me. It should go to the appropriate people. And you women, to have a bad time with your boyfriend, stop going to your girlfriends and trash talking them. Go to the pastor. Go to a godly woman in the church who isn't going to go, want. You really mature in the faith. You don't whine to everybody and lie and character assassinate. I like my pastor. He stood up one Sunday to 2 women. Before we even started the Bible lesson, they were offering prayer for their husbands. And in the middle of doing that, my husband's still addicted to alcohol. And pastor said, hold it. We're not going to do this. You guys are gossiping about your husband under the guise of prayer. We're not doing this. I can point to this whole room and say, we got a busload of men that don't come to this church because of what you women are saying about them. Man, I should have got up out of that chair and said, preach! Yeah, that one. I'm glad that the pastor finally stood up and confronted the women. Where is that in most pulpits today? Can you hear me? No, I hear crickets. That's right. Our nation has become what it has become because men don't stand up to this stuff. Lust is like a drug. Herod, his daughter danced before him. And I don't believe that she was an adult woman. I don't believe that. And that woman, she liked the attention. And they wore stuff back then. You think I'm slinky? Those women look like Arabian belly dancers. And she's doing this before him and all these men. And I'm going to say something. Everybody needs to listen to me right now. I don't care who she is. When a woman's showing her beauty and coming after us and being provocative and teasing us, nobody can withstand that. We're men. God made us to notice a woman's beauty. And when they're putting it out there, we're done. Herod is the father. And he's feeling lust. And women today, that's so pedophile, that's so gross. Hold it. The kings did whatever they wanted back then. There's women that I may not necessarily be into on a personality level, but trust me, they come up and start rubbing up against me and skin grazing me. It does something. I'm like, whoa. It's electrifying. Just remember, ELO. Crazy ladies that wait and slide around like a snake. I just can't take any more. I'm headed into the door into the city. Madness at midnight. Oh. Woman, a pretty woman, a woman interested in me, a woman who's pawing at me, getting my attention, being forward to me. Ooh. That's tough. And I see how our society causes even me to go inside and grab that old iron bar and start turning that wheel that starts gathering up the chain to pull the drawbridge door and make sure I got that boat loaded with crocodiles, hippos, pythons, snakes, anacondas. Don't come any closer. And that's why our society does that. My ex-wife did irreparable damage. There's been no justice for what she's done. God hasn't come in and convicted her. God hasn't come in and dashed and made her life miserable to make her pay for it. He hasn't done a thing. But has he treated me as my sins deserve? No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. We all depend on the grace of God. And sometimes I look back and I was blind as a bat. I was reflecting last night on some of the dumb things I've done in the past and said, wow, God, I thank you that you didn't treat me as my sins deserve. There has to be a balance of the wrath of God and the grace of God in our lives. And I've noticed something. I've said this all the time about America. We're pendulum culture. Are you a Democrat? All the way to the left. Are you a right-winger? All the way to the right. Are you a centrist? What the hell's a centrist? I don't know. I've never seen one before. Extremism. Oh, I'm not coming into this chat tonight talking about politics. That's an extreme. No, Michael, you're dressed like a woman. You're bad. Do you listen to what I'm saying? Go up and tell the women to dress like this that it's inappropriate. You won't do it. So why are you doing it to me? Ball caps, sports bras, men's cargo pants, sweat hoodies. Those are not made for women, by the way. None of those were made for women. Cargo pants were made for men. Ball caps were made for men. Jeans were made for men. Look it up. Look it up. Don't say a word to me. Go look it up. Go do your investigation. Cargo pants with all the zippers in the pockets. They were not made for chicks. But watch this. Women are acting like men. Men are acting like girls. And now everything's confused. If Tommy wants to use Lucy's bathroom, Tommy can use Lucy's bathroom. If you want to be a cat, you can poop in a litter box in class and kick sand everywhere. Isn't that fun? Somebody got on my channel and said that's not true. I said, you didn't listen to a video in a Utah school where a girl and her family stood up to this nonsense of litter boxes in the damn classroom. Yeah, it did exist. Education has retooled itself to be a pulpit for wokeness. You can't even start off with factual science anymore. Science has been hijacked by evolutionists, aka atheists. Atheists love to scream separation of church and state. That also means separation of atheists and state. So shut your mouth, because your religion of atheism is a faith-based bunch of nonsense. Atheism is a faith-based religious system. Absolutely. You believe all this just happened without a creator. That takes more faith than to believe in Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Boom. Sometimes I feel like the Lusitania going out there in life, that I'm a beautiful ocean liner. No, I'm not Visions of Grandeur. Don't go there. But there's a U-boat out there waiting. As soon as they see 4 stacks in the ship and their crosshairs line up, ooh, fire in the hole. Down she goes. Read about Captain Walter Lieutenant Schleicher, Commodore Captain of the U-20. Evil, insidious German. Saw Lusitania in his periscope. 8 miles off the old head of Kinsale, Ireland. Coming back from New York, they had just cleared the lunch dishes, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Blue Danube Waltz was being played by the ship orchestra. I picture that classical music and these engines and the propellers and this magnificent, beautiful ship with majestic woodwork and grandeur inside, and as if though there's not a care in the world, except there was a couple people out on that sunny Sunday and they saw something in the water. Uh-oh, they saw that streak. And before they could vocalize it, deep under the bridge of the ship, and she immediately listed 18 minutes, 1,198 people dead. 18 minutes from the Blue Danube Waltz to clearing the Sunday brunch to that. Rich people, poor people, floating dead corpses in the water. Why would somebody strike an ocean liner? Oh, well, they believed they were carrying ammunition. Why would somebody shoot an ocean liner? That act caused the U.S. to get involved in World War I. Only a dirtball would shoot a passenger liner. Britain was pissed. They went to the German areas of London and smashed the windows and took everything out of there and looted everything and made a statement. Get out of here. And our country today is letting rascals in that hate us. Women today in the white race aren't procreating. Our numbers are dropping. Muslims have huge birth rates. Catholics have huge birth rates. People groups that a lot of them hate us have higher birth rates, and it's only a matter of time. I pray God comes before it gets there. Because if Caucasians are forced to be in a very scant minority, I believe this world is in trouble. I don't believe whites are a super race, but God has gifted every race, every ethnicity with strengths and weaknesses. And one of the strengths that was given to Caucasians was intellect. And intellect, if it's left to go where it should go, stands up and says, no, slavery's not right. But watch this, we've been lied to, people. Just because the blacks were emancipated in July or June of, 1856 or 18, I can't remember the year, my bad. We're not emancipated until we come to Jesus. But watch this. Even as a Christian, we're still in slavery. We're in slavery to our struggles. We're in slavery to the opinions of people. We're in slavery in our job. You have to shut your mouth so you don't lose your job, even though there's all kinds of stuff going on that everything wants to say, ah! And you can't. You think it's fun feeling like a giant steamship. I want to hear the waltz. I don't want to hear the sound of a torpedo going through my hull. And I know that there are people that got me in the crosshairs. That's not a comfortable feeling. So do I shut down? Do I just go away? Guess what? I can do all that and you're still going to have people out there. Remember this. All these people threatening. The devil comes to destroy, to kill. Everything about the devil is violent. When people threaten violence because of the way I'm dressed or my views, they are of their father, the devil. I'm a father, but so what? What difference does it make? My actions have more impact in his life negatively than I have had positively. So funny, I got up this morning thinking I have to go to work. I keep still thinking, oh, I gotta go. No, it's Saturday in the park. Oh, we already bypassed the 4th of July. Chicago. I remember growing up to that song. I remember that stupid song, not by Chicago, I don't know who it was. That song, it was irritating. Spinning wheel. What goes up must come down. I don't even remember who that song is. They played it on the plant radio at Betterbilt Aluminum, and I'd look at Victor, my black friend, and I said, this song sucks. He goes, it's depressing, man. There's another song, sound like barnyard music. I know there ain't no heaven, and I pray there ain't no hell. And Victor smiled. He said, you hear that? He said, he know there ain't no heaven, but he praying there ain't no hell. He said, I don't think he's too convinced. I said, no, he ain't. We used to laugh at the music. The music that they played at Betterbilt was not the top pop. It was the crummy stuff that people were getting drunk in a bar listened to in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was just the crappiest stuff. Prescott had some of the yuckiest radio stations. The best radio station was, I think it was KZIO out of Phoenix. Prescott had an oldie station on the AM side that played Betty Boop Boop Dee Boop. And I'd be listening to that on an AM scratchy radio and a static in the truck. Sheesh. Prescott, Arizona, a senior citizen, mountain highway, antique stores, and historic Whiskey Row. When the Hells Angels come through, all the women topless, 6 inches of pit air, whee, come flying through town, and the police just step aside and let them drive on through. What are you gonna do? Prescott was nice when I was in high school. And it's still got some attributes. But all the geeks still cruise up and down Gurley Street. Nothing's changed. Showing off their hoopties. 50-year-old men hanging out with Barbie, leaning out the passenger side. He's balding and pot-gutted, and you're just like, why? And then they'll stand there and talk for hours about their bored out carb and they're bored out this and you're bored and you've heard it over and over and this is all we talk about. I used to be caught up in all that, and then one day it hit me, you know what? There's an intellectual cap on this thing. And that's been the story of my life. Once I've exhausted, no pun intended, once I've exhausted the car thing, then I went on to other things. Time to go. Stuff to do. Y'all have a good day. Till next time, be safe.